Hi everyone, welcome back to a new video. I'm sitting in a coffee shop outside today. I feel a little self-conscious, but I'm gonna film this video for you anyways. I hope you're having a good day, that you guys had a good week. I posted a little question on my Instagram story because I was out of motivation for today's video and I got so many responses, so I just want to say already sorry for the ones that I didn't get to respond. I'll be getting back to those at a later time, I promise. But the question that I wanted to answer today, or the topic that one of you asked me, is kind of how I now am living in joy, coming from a place of existential dread or existential depression. And I thought that was such a beautiful question and a really nice topic for a video. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I want to talk to you guys about how I went from existential dread to existential joy. If I think about how I feel in existence right now, how I feel in life right now, I feel so safe. I feel so amazed. I feel a sense of deep joy and wonder for life. I mean, I can still look at a tree and go, how is this a tree? Or I can still look at the sky and go, how on earth is this a thing? But the emotional response to that amazement, to that wonder, is this deep sense of joy and love and openness. Rather, before in my existential crisis or with my existential dread, when I would think about questions like that, or when I would look at the sky and just not be able to understand, I would feel a sense of fear. And so the most important thing you have to know about going from existential dread to existential joy is your relationship with control and certainty. If your relationship with control and certainty is that you are addicted to it and that you feel like you need it, then you're never going to be able to look at existence and all the wonderful unknown aspects of it with a sense of excitement or openness or love. If you're living in a state of fear, if you're living in a state of trauma or a state of stress, you're unable to handle not being in control, or it's very difficult to feel a sense of openness to letting go of control or uncertainty. And therefore, existence is such a triggering thing, because there's literally nothing we know, or there's very little we can know for sure. There's the eternal doubt and the eternal questioning. And so if you want to be able to wake up and look at the sky or think about existence or think about philosophy and go, wow, it is really, really rooted in your relationship with control. So how did I go from the dread to the joy? I would say it's a very slow process of, instead of running away from the feeling that I had when I would think of not having control and just panicking and retracting away from that, I started really focusing on opening my heart up to it. There's a lot of wisdom to be found in how your heart responds to something. If your heart feels closed off from something, it's usually a sign that you're resisting or retracting away from something. If you feel your heart open towards something, it's a sign of you kind of expanding and love being able to flow. And joy is love. Existential joy to me is about loving life. Existential joy for me is about my heart saying yes to all of life. I could cry just thinking about it, because when I think of life, I feel so much love. I feel so much openness in my heart towards all of it, towards the pain, towards the beauty, towards the good, towards the bad. So the practice of getting from existential dread to a place of existential joy is really a process of opening your heart up to everything about life, opening your heart up to not having control. So what that could look like in my meditation practice was me sitting with all these existential questions that I couldn't answer and just deciding to open towards it rather than close, and deciding to say yes instead of to say no, deciding to feel the feelings I was feeling as a result from not having that control towards retracting away from that. It's almost as if you decide to try to start loving something that you hate or that you're afraid of, not by suddenly loving it, but by choosing to change how you respond to it. So one of the examples was that my deepest existential dread was about death, the reality of death. And instead of forcing myself to love death, what I started doing was I started to say, okay, what does death make me feel? It makes me feel out of control, it makes me feel uncertainty, it makes me feel all these, this dreadful feeling of uncertainty in my stomach. And instead of then running away from that, I would just sit there and say, all right, this is life. Let's just feel all of life. And I would really try to let myself feel that instead of, like I said, retract away from that. And something very interesting starts to happen when you do that. Everything that you resist persists, and everything that you embrace starts to get smaller and smaller. And it's almost like me deciding to stop running away from life and to just start really truly accepting it started over time changing my emotional response to it. Like the fear started getting smaller and the sense of wonder started coming back. Once I kind of told my mind to stop running away from the things that scares it or that scared me, it was almost able to look at other things again. Like I could look at the sky, and instead of it purely triggering me, there would be a part of me that was still triggered, but another part of me would go, it's also kind of beautiful, and it's also kind of crazy, and it's also kind of wonderful that it's so unknown. And it started becoming this mix of all kinds of emotions, and some of you might relate to that sometimes you don't really feel one sort of way towards something. You feel fear and love at the same time, and so we feel conflicted in that because our brain doesn't like contradiction, so we try to choose one of the two. And when we feel like we can't choose one of the two, we feel this clash. But what you can also do is just embrace both of them. I could say, I love life and I feel terrified of it at the same time, and that's okay. I can make space for both those feelings. But the more space I made for the fear and the feelings of not having control, and the more I started exposing myself to those, the more my brain started just automatically changing or shifting how it felt towards it. Another thing that really helped me, and this is a bit more tangible maybe, was that I would read a lot of books, like spiritual books. I would start learning how to meditate. I would kind of also purposefully start this more mindful spiritual journey, not to find answers, but to find peace. And while I was looking for peace, I kind of found some answers that also made me shift my perspective from fear to joy, from that dread to joy. And I think I can't tell you what to read or tell you what to do, because a spiritual journey is really something that you all embark upon within yourself. So I would say open yourself up as well to try to see the other perspective, to try to see the perspective of trust, to try to see the perspective of maybe you are taken care of. That doesn't mean that life is perfect. That doesn't mean that bad things don't happen. It means that despite bad things happening and despite struggle, things always somehow turn back to a state of equilibrium, and always you can kind of see in hindsight the reason why something happened, even though something can be terrible. And I started broadening my perspective to more... Sorry, my camera keeps turning off because apparently my storage is full. So I'm gonna try and wrap up quickly. What I was saying was that I tried to expand my view beyond this black and white thinking of good and bad, and instead try to not label things in life as good or bad, but just kind of see them as they are and see them without the judgment. So the practice of non-judgment also really helped me. And yeah, I think it's more a conscious choice to decide, look, we're in this life, we can't escape it, and So, how can we make the most of it? How can we change our perspective towards it? And once I started doing that, consciously changing my relationship to control and uncertainty, everything felt very effortless and it started unfolding very gradually and very automatically in a way. So, I hope this video helped you guys. Sorry I wasn't able to be 1,000% present because so many people were passing by and I feel so self-conscious, but I hope you enjoyed the video. For more resources, have a look in the description and I'll see you guys next week.